and we have done all of these types before. So let's take a look at the first one, which is vertical angles. Can I have somebody raise your hand and tell me what are vertical angles? Lincoln, what do you think? Same size and shape. Okay, so they are congruent. So I'm just going to write congruent. Okay, same size and shape. And what else do you know about them? Yeah, they're across from each other. Exactly. So I'm just going to put across. But congruent, and essentially they are across from each other. Now, there is a symbol for congruent. I don't know if I showed you this one before yet. But the congruent symbol, so we don't have to write the word every single time, looks like an equal sign. And then it's got like a squiggle. It's called a tilde right above it. That means congruent. That's the symbol for it. So instead of me writing the word congruent, I'm just going to draw that symbol from now on. Okay. So vertical angles are congruent. They're across from each other. What do they look like if I were to draw a picture of them? You can describe it to me. Yes, Lena.
Two lines,
Sorry.
X and one.
Okay. So two essentially angles making an X, and then where are they located on that X? Where would they be located on that X? Well, the middle's the vertex.
What?
The top, bottom, left, right, where?
Top.
Top and? What would the other one have to be if you pick the top? The bottom, yeah. So you could do top and bottom, or you could do left or right, doesn't matter. But they have to be congruent. So what we do is to show that two angles are congruent, they have the same number of arc marks. Okay. I was like, what was that? They have the same number of arc marks. So since both of these both have one arc mark, that means they're both exactly the same. So if this one was 40 degrees, right, that means this one's also 40 degrees. They would be the same. Good. All right, vertical angles, congruent and across from each other. Number two, adjacent angles. Who can define it for me? Adjacent angles. Olivia, what do you think? Common side and a common vertex. In other words, what does that mean? They're touching. They're next to each other, right? Okay, so you can put either one. I'm going to put next to. And they, like Olivia just told us, they share a ray or a side. So I'm going to put share a side. Okay, so it does not matter what your size is of your adjacent angles as long as they have the same ray that they are touching, that they are sharing. So an example, yours does not have to look like mine. An example could be something like this, where if I had like one angle right here, let's say is, I don't know, 20 degrees. This angle that's right next to it, since it's a different one, I don't know. They're next to each other. They're sharing that side. They're sharing a ray. And notice too that when I put the 20 and 30 to show that they were two different measures, I've got one of them has one arc mark and another one has two arc marks. That's to show that they are different from each other. Okay. Beautiful. Adjacent, next to, share a side. Yes. Yeah, you know. Okay. Linear pair. Who can describe a linear pair for me? Why am I forgetting your name? I know it. It's Leanna, right?
Oh, you're on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm listening. I'm trying to get everybody's names. You know, I'm not good at names. Sorry, friends. I'm not. Okay, go ahead, Leanna. Yeah. Good, exactly. So linear pair, they have to touch, and it adds up to 180 degrees. Beautiful. Okay, so a picture could look something like a straight line. And then you've got essentially two angles that come off of that straight line, and they have to add up to 180. So like if this one's 80 degrees, that means in my picture, the other one is 100 degrees. I do think it's nice. You might want to add in those angle measures just so you have something for your picture so you remember what it looks like. Okay. Linear pair, they have to touch, and it adds up to 180 degrees. Great. Complementary angles. Lincoln, go for it. Add up to 90 degrees. Good. And if it adds up to 90, what's the little picture? What does it look like if it's 90 degrees? Is it a little what? Yeah, it's a little box in it. Exactly. So looks something like this, and it can be any two angles, right, that add up to be 90 degrees. Doesn't matter what the two angles are, but if I put the two of them together, I should get 90 degrees. So I could say like this is 60 and this is 30. Whatever. Adds up to be 90 degrees. And you should see the box typically, but you know. Okay. And then the last one, supplementary. Supplementary. What does that one mean? I need you already answered them. Brooklyn, what do you think? Adds up to 180. Great. Which again is a straight line. So it could be the exact same picture that you have for linear pair, right? The two angles that add up to 180. They, however, do not have to touch. They don't have to touch. They can, but they don't have to. Okay. So any two angles that add up to be 180 degrees are supplementary. Okay, something like that. Or you could, like I said, you could have two angles that don't touch at all. So if this is like, I don't know, 110, this is 70. Add up to 180. Okay. Now, we've got our 5 different types of angles: vertical, adjacent, linear, complementary, and supplementary. What you are going to do now with the people at your table is you're going to do the quick check. So for questions 1 through 6, you've got 2 angles, angle 1 and angle 2. You are checking all of the relationships between 1 and 2, which means you might have more than one for each picture. You might only have one, and that's okay. But you might have more than one answer. So let's take a look at number 1, and then I'll let you do the others with your table. If you were to look at angle 1 and angle 2 in this first problem here, number 1, are they adjacent to each other? No, they're not. They're not next to each other. They're not sharing a side. That is not correct. Are they vertical angles? Yeah. Yes, they are, which also means they're what if they're vertical? Yeah, they're congruent. They're exactly the same. So if you wanted to draw, you know, if you wanted to put that in, you can. Okay, they have to be the same. Okay. Are they complementary? No, we don't know. I just put the 40 there, but we don't know what it really is, right? So you can't assume that it's complementary. You don't know that. Are they supplementary? Again, I don't know that for sure, right? They haven't told me any of the angle measures, so I can't assume that. And do they make a linear pair? No, they're not next to each other and they're not making 180. So the answer for that one is only vertical, nothing else. Okay, I'm gonna put a timer on the board for 5 minutes. You're gonna work with your table, and I want you to answer the last 5 questions there. Okay, you got 5 minutes on the board. Talk to the people at your table and go ahead and get started.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, the other thing, in the same line, it's just the middle, such a straight line, that's every step.
Well, linear pyramids is making a straight line and they have to touch one another. Right, so I don't think those are touching.
Sorry. So the last two.
The last two are a little, they got a little tricky.
The last two.
About a minute and just under 2 minutes left. Start to finish up. Yeah. That is correct.
That's a straight line.
Are you excited about that?
Or it might be added up to.
Yes.
Uh-huh. He makes us do crossword puzzles.
What? Even if I leave something? No, I think this is a new person.
It might,
What
but
up?
it doesn't say.
Yeah, just be careful because that thing keeps popping off. Somebody called like Nadeau, I think. I don't, that's not him. Okay. Well, then there you go. I guess you don't have to worry about it.
That was a one-time thing.
Oh, I don't know. What was it? Do you know what his name was?
No, I don't remember.
We'll see if you remembered it, then maybe I could like, someone to avoid, but. All right, we ready to rumble? Do you need the last 30 seconds? You okay? You need the last 30. Oh my goodness, fine. Take the last 30 seconds. Okay, let's take a check. Let's see how you did. Okay. Number 2. Who wants to raise their hand and tell me what they got for number 2? Leonardo, what'd you get?
Adjacent.
Adjacent. Fabulous. Anything else?
And vertical.
Ooh, I don't know if I agree with that.
And wait, my bad. I didn't read it right.
That's okay.
It's complementary.
Why complementary?
Because I saw the other side and it's like equal to 90. It's the only difference on the other side is that there's like a line splitting it up. So I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a straight line, which means this is 180 degrees. You already have 90 of the 180. That means angle 1 and angle 2 also have to be 90 degrees. And so in order for that to work, they also have to be complementary. Very good. And that's it. Those are your only 2. They are not supplementary. And I feel like I heard somebody ask about it because I'm only asking about angle 1 and angle 2. Not all the angles, just angle 1 and 2. And those two alone are not supplementary. With the third one, they are, but alone, they are not supplementary. Okay. Number 3. Wants to give number 3 a try. Number 3. Brooklyn, go for it. Linear pair. Anything else? That it? Supplementary linear pair. Okay, I agree. Both of those look good. You're missing one. Which one's Susan? Which one? Adjacent. What does adjacent mean? Next to each other. Very good. So in order to be a linear pair, they have to be adjacent. So yes, angle 1 and angle 2 are definitely different, but they make a straight line right here. So that means they are a linear pair and supplementary. Very nice. Okay, number 4. Who would like to give number 4 a try? Ryan, go ahead. Just adjacent. Do we agree with Ryan? Does anybody think it's anything else? Yes?
Vertical?
Well, to be vertical, you'd have to have an X. Do you see an X?
Oh, I meant, okay.
Okay. Good. Just adjacent. Nothing else. Good. Nice, nice, nice. Right, because we don't know if they're complementary, right? We can't tell if that's 90 degrees. So you're not allowed to assume in geometry anything unless it's marked for you. Okay, not gonna lie, number 5 is tricky. Olivia, what do you think? It is in fact vertical and complementary. Now, vertical is easy peasy, right? Because they're across from each other. How did you know they were complementary? Okay, which means what about these two? They're equal. Now, these two are the same because they both have the same number of arc marks or dashes with them. What do these two have to add up to be? 90. So if these two have to add up to be 90, what do these two angles have to be? 45 and 45, right? Because that's half of 90. And then angle 2 has to be what? Also 45 because it's across, it's vertical from angle 1. And then what is 45 and 45? 90. So there you've got complementary angles as well. Awesome. That was a tricky one. So good job. Okay, and then the last one, number 6. What kind of angles are these? Olivia, what do you think?
Vertical and supplementary.
They are in fact vertical and they are supplementary. Why?
Because they're across from each other and one side, like, so the boxes, it's a 90 and the lines people.
Perfect. Yeah. So this one also is 90, which means, hey, guess what? This one's 90 and this one's 90. They're all 90 degrees. So angle 1 and angle 2, if you add together the two 90s, you will get 180. Very nice. Good job. All right. What questions can I answer about those? Do we feel okay? Feeling good? All right. Let's flip it to the back. It's time for some algebra. Yes, your favorite. You know how much you love it. All right. We're going to do the top 4 examples together, the we do examples, and then you're going to do the you do examples on your own. So depending on how quickly we can get through these, we'll see what you've got for homework tonight. All right. For examples 1 through 4, we're identifying first the type of angle relationship. And then once we identify the relationship, we'll find the missing angle measures and we'll solve for X. So the first thing we're going to do is determine what type of angles they are. Then we'll set up an equation and solve it, because you can't set up an equation unless you know what type of angles they are. All right, so take a look at example 1. You are given one angle is 123 degrees, and the other angle you're given is the 17x plus 21 degrees. What type of angles are these two? Vertical, adjacent, linear, complementary, supplementary. These are vertical angles. They're across from each other. What do you know about vertical angles? They're the same. They are congruent. I'm going to put my congruent symbol. Okay. If they are congruent, this angle right here is worth 123 degrees. What does that mean this angle is worth? It's also worth 123 degrees. So knowing that, how would I set up this equation? Perfect. Yeah. If they're the exact same, you just set them equal to each other. And then it's easy peasy algebra. What should I do first?
Minus 21.
Yep. I get 17x equals 102, and then divide both sides by 17. X equals 6. Perfect. Now, what I should do is what with that now? I should plug it in and just to be sure, but I already know that that's right, so I'm not going to plug it in, okay? But that's a good way to just make sure that your answer is correct. So if you plug in the 6 right here, right, 17 times 6 plus 21, you better get 123 out of it. If you don't, then you're doing something wrong. Then your X is wrong, okay? It's a nice and easy way to kind of check your work. All right, so when we see vertical angles, we always set our equations equal. I don't know if you want to write that somewhere, but vertical angles mean set your equations equal. Okay, set equations equal. Just give myself a little hint there, right? Next time I see vertical angles, I know what to do with them. Okay, example 2. Again, same idea. We're first going to identify the type of angles they are, then we'll set up an equation. So who can raise their hand and tell me what type of angles are in example 2? Don't answer it, Ryan. What does vertical mean? Two angles that are congruent, and they have to be located which way?
Opposite ways.
Opposite. Are these two, do these look like that? No. They're adjacent. They're also, there's more than just adjacent. There's more than just adjacent. Olivia? They're also supplementary, and there's one more. They're a linear pair. They're all of those. They are next to each other, so they are adjacent, and they make a straight line. They're next to each other, so they are a linear pair. Any of those are fine to write down. I'm going to put down linear pair because that kind of encompasses both supplementary and adjacent. Okay, so we know these two are a linear pair. What should I do then with the equations? Well, if I set them equal to each other, that's saying this angle is the same size and shape as this one, which is not what I want. Nicole, thanks for raising your hand. Nicole, what do you think? Exactly. Perfect. So linear pair means they're added together to equal 180. So that's exactly what we're going to do with our equations. We're going to take 101 minus 5x added together with 2x plus 70. And that gives me 180 degrees. So anytime you see a linear pair, we're going to add our equations and set equal to 180 degrees. So we're adding our equations, setting them equal to 180. And then it just becomes algebra. I told you this class was all algebra. Wasn't kidding, was I? Negative what? Oh, yeah. Yep, -3 is correct. Yeah, so can I skip the algebra or something? I'm sorry? Oh man, I picked the same one. Lame. Lame, Miss Tommaso. Well, there you got out of one example then, I guess. Okay, but since we do have time, what should I do with that -3? You better plug it in, because I want to know not only the x value, I also want to know the value of each angle measure as well. So my gut says plug it into this one, and then this one will be really easy because you know it has to equal 180. So if you plug it in over here, 2 times -3 is -6 plus 70 gives you what?
Negative, oh wait, no, positive 64.
This is negative. Yeah, because it's 2 times a -3. So it's -6 essentially. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So 64. So this is 64. Without really having to plug in, how could I figure out this one right here? Yeah, 180 minus 64, which gives me what? 116, exactly. And now you've got your angle measures. So making sure after you get your x to take that x and substitute it in just to be sure that you know what your angle measures are. Because on a test, I'm not just going to ask you for x. I'm also going to ask you to plug in your answer. Okay. So make sure we're plugging in to check our work. All right. Questions? Are we okay there? Thumbs up, thumbs down. We all right? Okay. So vertical angles, we set them equal to each other. Linear pair, we add our equations and set them equal to 180. Example 3. Okay. It's what? Yeah, they are complementary angles. And how do you know that? This side's a right angle, which means this side also has to be a right angle because they have to add up to be a straight line 180. So these are complementary angles. Okay, how should I set up my equation for complementary angles? Yep. Exactly, perfect. We're gonna add our equations and set equal to 90 degrees. And then it just becomes quick algebra. So 8x minus 1 plus 27 equals 90. So this is, yeah, hold on. Subtract the 26. What is this? 64 divided by 8 divided by 8. I get x equals 8. What could have been another way for me to do this problem? Minus what from 90? Okay, so there's another way to do this problem. You could do it this way, the algebra way, right? You also could say to yourself, okay, I know that this is 90. If I already have 27 of the 90, what's left over? 63 degrees. That means this angle right here has to equal 63. So what you could have done was put 8x minus 1 and set it equal to 63, and it still would have given you the same answer. Both of those are fine ways to go about it. They're both going to get you to the same place in the end. So you do what makes kind of like more cognitive sense for you. Okay. All right. Last one. Example 4. Now, what the heck's going on in example 4? Wait, what? Let me go back. Yes, I can. All right. What the heck is going on in example 4? There's some moments happening there, for sure. What do you notice? Olivia, what do you notice?
There's a vertical angle, like if you like put the 55 like across, then it would be the 180.
Okay, there you go. So what she's saying is, where do you want me to put the 55 across? Yeah. Okay, so here's 55. If you go vertical from that, That means this one is also 55, right? Okay, there's other ones there that are vertical too. Do you see it? The 107? Yeah, so I'm gonna put 2 arc marks here. This one's also 107. Hey, what does that mean this one is?
4x minus 2.
Well, 4 minus 2x, but yes,
Oh, yeah.
you're okay. All good. So look, there's a bunch of vertical angles in this picture. But what's important here is figuring out how to write the equation. And I think, Olivia, you said it already. It's what? Okay, so there are a lot of straight lines in this picture. No matter which straight line you pick, right? If I pick this straight line, you could say, okay, these 3 make up this straight line. Or I could say, hey, these 3 make up that straight line. Or whatever, these 3 make up that straight line. What you're going to notice is 3 angles together make a linear pair. So this is another linear pair, except instead of it being 2 angles, it's 3 angles that make up the 180. So we're going to add together our 3 angles and set it equal to 180, and it doesn't matter what order you do it in. And if you do that, I'm just going to go like this, dot, 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 you get -7. Huh? Yeah, the negative. Because this is a -2x, so it'll be negative. You put 4 minus 2x equals to 36? I don't know either. Yes. Correct. Yep. I would combine like terms. I would put these together. Yeah, I can actually show you my other one that has the answer for it. Okay, now for your, I think our supplementary, they're a linear pair, but yeah. For your homework, so I am not going to be here tomorrow and I'm not going to be here Friday. Don't be so excited. You're supposed to be sad that I'm not here, okay? You're supposed to at least pretend like you're sad. If you were a real good class, you'd pretend like you were sad. Okay, that being said, stop recording. That being said, here's what is going to be expected of you tomorrow. This right here, these questions are your homework.